spend too long with your queries. Should you have queries, just get to the point, raise a question, and one of the two presenters will answer. So again, keep your mics on mute unless you really do need to speak during the question and answer session. Whatever questions you may have, do record them, and we will try to respond to as many as we possibly can. When it is that you wish to make an intervention, we use the reactions, the raise hand feature to indicate, and it will be monitored. Other queries, other comments may be sent in the chat, which will be monitored, and responses will be given as best as possible during the question and answer section. Having said that, it is my privilege to welcome and introduce to you our presenters this morning. Our presenters are both employed to the Bureau of Standards Jamaica and have given collectively over 15 years of service to this organization. Mrs. Paulette Bailey, technician in the packaging, non-metallic and furniture branch, has been with the organization for in excess of 10 years. And Gervon Spence, who is the acting team leader in the same area, has been with the Bureau of Standards for over 5 years. We invite, at this point, Mrs. Paulette Bailey and Mr. Gervon Spence to come on camera. They will be presenting to us. It will be a team presentation, and thereafter, they will do interchanging in the presentations, and we will, as well, as we said, use the pre-test and post-test at some points during the session. So the very first thing before they come, as they come and Mrs. Bailey starts out the session, we are going to issue our first poll. Our first poll will simply ask you to just give us some demographics so that we can report accurately on this session. It will ask you just a little bit about your space in the company, what kind of sector you're involved in, your role, whether you're male or female, and the number of persons in your company, 1 to 3 for micro, 4 to 5 and above in relation to small, medium, micro. So thank you very much for your participation, and we look forward now to Mrs. Paulette Bailey and Mr. Gervon Spence making their presentations.
Pleasant morning to you all, and I must say thank you very much for turning up. It's our pleasure this morning to really serve you, and we hope that this session will definitely be beneficial to you. I'll just start out now by just giving you a short quiz. We know that you came here with some information. We just want to test how accurate that is. So right now, we'll be administering a little quiz. So get ready. So thank you very much. Those of you who completed that pre-test, we will definitely discuss the results later on. So let's go into our presentation. Now, during this presentation, we will aim to help you to develop an understanding and an appreciation of the labeling standards which govern various products. Of course, you know that we have various labeling standards. We'll just guide you through them so that you can definitely develop an appreciation and awareness of that. Our objectives today is to outline the basic labeling requirements for prepackaged products for retail sale. We will also provide general labeling requirements for prepackaged goods. We will highlight products with specific standards and share the requirements with you. We will also be addressing some recurring areas of non-conformances that we find on the labels. No, you already got your pre-test. Just giving an outline of the activities. Mr. Spence will come and he will give you the general labeling requirements for pre-packaged goods. Of course, most of these are non-food items. He will also give you some specific labeling requirements for pre-packaged foods, right? And then I'll come back and I'll give you some specific requirements for products that have their own standards. And as we do your label assessments, we see some recurring areas of concern that we will try to address so that you will be more informed when you're putting your labels together. And of course, we're going to give you a post-test. We want to see if your knowledge was increased and make sure that you're leaving here knowing more than you came with. And then you'll have your time to ask your questions and have them answered.
It wasn't advancing. It's just not advancing on the screen.
No, I'm going to share screen.
All right.
I'm not done.
It's just that questions are not moving on.
And just to give you a little information, a little general labeling information, we will look at what is a label, right? I'm sure most of you have your own idea of what a label is. But on the screen, you see a definition. It is anything that is written or even any electronic or graphic communication about the product. It may be on the package or based on the amount of information that needs to be on the product, it might not necessarily be on the package. So sometimes you have inserts in products that is considered a part of the label. Sometimes you have tags on the product. That too is considered a part of the label. Now, why is a label important? A label is important because one, it helps you to advertise the product. And of course, it gives the consumer enough information to make informed choices. And of course, your regulatory requirements are a must. The label should also be accurate and should reflect the true nature of the product. Now, whereas there's only one label, you actually have two different parts to a label. You have what we call the principal display panel, and you have the information panel. Now, the principal display panel is that part that you see first when you approach the product. It is usually in bolder writings, and it is usually more decorative as well. And then you have the information panel, which is anywhere else on the label that you are allowed to put information. Now, Mr. Spence will come and he will give you some more information, some more detailed information about prepackaged goods and prepackaged foods.
All right. Good morning, all. And thank you, Mrs. Bailey, for such a wonderful welcome. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join this session. And I hope you all will take home what the requirements are to make your products meet the requirements of the local market. Now, I will quickly go through with you what are the general labeling guidelines, and these would be for prepackaged foods and prepackaged goods, goods meaning non-food items. I will start by going through what the requirements are for prepackaged goods, and these are some general items. Now, usually a common name is needed for your product, or a usual name. A trade name or brand name is necessary if there is one for the manufacturer. A name and identifiable address, which should be the principal place of business or the registered office. A country of origin must also be included. A statement of the net contents of the package, and this would depend or vary depending on the principal display area or size. Now, in terms of the size, you have to know what minimum letter size is to be met in order to meet the requirements. Now, for labels which have a display panel, principal display panel of 5 inches square or 32 centimeters square or less, the minimum letter size for the net contents would be 1.6 millimeters or 1/16 of an inch. For display panel greater than 32 centimeters square or 5 inches square, the minimum letter size would be 3.2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. Ingredients. This is also important, and almost anything you can think of out there should have an ingredient list. All right, there are a few exceptions, but we'll see those later on. Now, the key thing about having your ingredients is that all ingredients or contents should be listed in a descending or decreasing order of proportion, whether it's by weight or volume. There should be active ingredients and inert ingredients separate if this applies to your product. All right. Active ingredients are those ingredients which really cause the product to work, which makes it active, right? Inert ingredients would be those other ingredients listed or stated, which makes up the remaining portion of the product, but they don't actively participate in the work of the product, right? Again, both ingredients should be separated and they should be listed in decreasing order of proportion by weight or volume. Date mark is another thing. This should be stated, and how it is written is just as seen here on the slide. You will use the date mark to show when the product really deteriorates or breaks down, right? And this should be for products which have a short shelf life, meaning those products which are in 3 months would break down, or over 3 months. The month and year for those products which are over 3 months must be stated, while for those products which breaks down in less than 3 months will include the exact date, which is the day, month, and year. And keynote is how the date is written. The month is written and how the day is written when included. All right, and this is to avoid any confusion. How the information should be positioned on your package. As Mrs. Bailey had said earlier, there are 2 display panels. Now, the principal display panel, which is the front or the main panel that you see when your product is on the shelf, right? This is what you turn to your customers. The product name and net content must be stated on that panel, right? All other requirements, those can be placed on the information panel, all right? That is any other part of the label. The language used must be of the English language for the local market. Any other language can be used, however, English is a must. All numbers relating to the net contents must be in the Arabic numerals and not the Roman numerals. Arabic meaning 1, 2, 3, 4, and Roman numerals meaning using letters such as X, C, M, or I. Presentation of your information on the label is also key to note. All labeling information, first of all, should be very clearly presented and readily legible under normal conditions of sale, right? The same way in which you want your product to be on your shelf and the same way in which you can take up a product and look at it, it should be very legible and not something that you have to put too close for your eyes to read, right? Now, some other things to note with how you write certain information in terms of the font size and the style, the product name, the manufacturer's name, manufacturer's address as well, and the country of origin. This should be written in one style and one font size. Individually, each of them can be of different font size. So product name in a different font style and size, manufacturer's name in a different font size and style, country of origin. However, when writing each of them individually, it should be of the same font size and style. Where warranties or guarantees are stated on a label, now these should not be a part of a label unless the guarantee or the warranty is issued at the time of purchasing. Right? So no reference shall be made on a label or on a package to any warranty or guarantee for any goods unless a copy of the warranty or the guarantee is provided to the purchaser or the customer or the consumer, right, at the time of purchase. Goods which are considered as used, defective, or imperfect goods, these should be clearly marked with the words used or defective. It is a defective. Refurbished, if it's a refurbished good. Reconditioned, imperfect. If it's a second-hand good, you can say seconds, right? And this must be clearly and conspicuously labeled. Now, looking at the requirements for food items, now the requirements will be that similar to what non-food items have, but we will see other coming in as we go along, all right? So the name, again, name of the food, a list of ingredients, the net content, and drain weight, if drain weight is applicable, the name and address statement, the country of origin, a lot or batch number, date mark, instructions for use where this is required, storage instructions where this is required. Now, let's just go into a few details about each of them individually. So the name of the food, it shall indicate the true nature of the food and normally be a specific name and not generic. So if you are making a product such as a juice, then you want to make it specific to say if it's an orange juice, a pineapple juice, or whatever juice it is. So it's not generic, right? A brand name or trademark may be used, provided that it accompanies the name of the food. So if you have a brand name or a trademark, you use this in close relation to where the name of the food is. Now, ingredients, as stated before, these should be in decreasing or descending order of proportion by weight or volume. However, there are some exceptions or exemptions to certain foods that do not require an ingredient list. First of all, the single ingredient foods. For example, these could be items such as rice. This could be items such as coffee, which certain products, which it is just the product itself being sold and not a mixture of compounds or other foods. Alcoholic beverages do not require unless there is an existing regional standard which states otherwise. Any other products that are stipulated by the national standards body are exempted as well.
That's more certain than the search beat by.
I am getting a feedback. Can someone mute their mic, please? Thank you. All right, so as said, ingredients should be in descending order of weight or volume at the time of manufacture of the food. Now, compound ingredients should be listed in full. And when we say compound ingredients, we are referring to ingredients that consist of a makeup of other ingredients. For example, you are making a cake or you're baking cake, and you have added something like an eggnog, which consists of varying ingredients as well. So those ingredients should be stated along with the eggnog. So you could say eggnog in your ingredients listing, and in the bracket, you state out the other ingredients that makes this eggnog. Ingredients that are known to cause hypersensitivity should be stated. And when we say ingredients that cause hypersensitivity, we are referring to ingredients that could possibly cause an allergy attack, and ingredients such as milk or dairy products, ingredients such as shellfish or crustaceans, nuts or seeds, these ingredients should be clearly stated, all right? For food which contains pork fat, lard, or beef fat, or any of these meat types, then these specific names should be stated in your ingredients as well. The net content and drained weight, this should be stated on the, well, as said before, the net content should be on your principal display panel, right? It is important to note that the net content must be in the metric system. For liquid, which is volume, we use the milliliters or liters as the unit. And for solids, we use, for weight, gram or kilogram as the unit. For foods which are viscous or semi-solid, we ask that either units can be used to suffice, all right? And when we say viscous or semi-solid foods, for example, molasses, which is a thick fluid, either units can work. For drained weight is applicable for foods which contains water inside, right? And you can mainly find these in foods such as canned sausages or canned ackee or canned callaloo, where the liquid inside and the food inside will make up the net contents. However, the drained weight would be the weight of the food itself minus the liquid. All right. The name and address statement should be clear. It should be a full and identifiable address, and there is a format to how this is usually written. Now, manufactured by, distributed by, packaged by, imported by, either one which is applicable to you can be used. Now, this should be preceded with the company name, all right? So manufactured by, for example, if you are the manufacturer, then you have the company name, then you have the full address statement, and ensure that the address statement is not a PO box mailing address. It should be one where the entity is really located, all right? The country of origin, this should be stated clearly, and it should be written usually in the form product of or made in, following the country. Now, when you say country of origin, it is the country in which the final processing or the final preparation of the food is actually done, or the final put together of the food is done, right, before being sold. And the composition of the food doesn't change after that, right? So for example, you could get ingredients from another country to make your food. However, the processing is done in Jamaica and packaged, and the food is packaged here. Then the country of origin would be Jamaica. The batch code or the lot number, this should be permanently marked on the package, right? And not something that is tagged. So you try to make this not something that can be removed easily. Usually the producing factory is identified from the batch code. All right, and this is important for traceability purposes. Should something go wrong with your product on the shelf, then you can easily trace from which batch this product was produced. All right, instructions for use. This should be clearly stated as well, where special or certain instructions are required for using the product. The date mark, usually where the safety or the quality of the food cannot be assured beyond a certain period. And we say cannot assure, meaning a period where the food basically becomes spoiled or close to being spoiled. Then we usually ask that the best before date or an expiration date is stated, or you can use other terms of similar meaning to express the date mark. Now, there are certain foods which do not require a date mark. Now, some of these are listed here: fresh fruits and vegetables, vinegar, food grade salt, which is salt, the solid sugar, and chewing gum. Just some examples. Now, some additional requirements that are needed for your labels. And in terms of the ingredients, they are what we call quantitative labeling of ingredients. And usually this is denoted by a percentage of that specific ingredient. Now, for ingredients which are considered to be valuable ingredients, the percentage of the ingredient should be stated. And for where emphasis is placed on a specific ingredient which is in a low quantity, the percentage of such ingredients should be stated as well. For example, persons in the bakery industry doing bread and those who are making wheat bread, the percentage wheat must be declared. All right, for those in the juice industry or the beverage industry, may indicate the percent juice of which makes up the product. For organically produced foods, organic is a big thing these days, and hence most people are trying to go healthy and achieve better eating habits. And we want to ensure that using the term organic is correct, right? And organic is not just by saying it is organic because you plant it in your backyard. So there are some requirements that should be met for organic products. Now, the terms for organic production can be used such as biological, ecological, biodynamic, or any other words of similar intent. The word organic, of course. Now, to claim that your product is organic, then your entire processing of the food should be certified, and this is done through a competent authority. Here in Jamaica, the National Certification Body of Jamaica, NCBJ, is one place that you can speak to in order to see what are the requirements and to have your product certified as being organic. Now, there are options for you to choose from. And when you say options, it is where the creativity of the label comes in, right? Pictorial or graphic materials one is such option, and the material for pictures or any graphic material is permitted once it is not in conflict with the requirements of the standard. I would say conflict meaning the whole legibility, the letter size, the clarity of the label, right? Using pictures or background colors which would interfere with the clarity of the label would be an issue. Now, nutritional information which is presented on a label must comply with requirements for nutrition labeling. And we'll see later on in the presentation what the nutrition labeling looks like. And this is usually from the nutrition facts panel stated on your label. The presentation of information on a label. There are certain ways in which the information label is presented. Again, ensure that the minimum letter size, which is 1.5 millimeters in height, is met. And when you say 1.5 millimeters, we're looking at lowercase letter size. So when you actually print an actual label, if you measure the letter size on that label, it should meet at least 1.5 millimeters. Again, it should be clear, it should be readily legible, prominent by the consumer under the normal conditions of purchase. All right. So just to give a quick recap on what I have discussed on the general labeling requirements of prepackaged goods, we have looked at what is needed for goods, which are non-food items. We have looked at the name of the product, the net contents, the address, name and address of the company, the lot number or the batch code. All right, for food items, we have looked at, again, name and address, the country of origin, the net contents. We have looked at what a label really is, and we have looked at certain things, certain requirements, such as having the net content written in terms of the size of the principal display. We have looked at some options when labeling your product. all right, in terms of the graphic material used, the background colors, and so on. All right. Now, I will quickly hand over to Mrs. Bailey, who will walk you through some specific product requirements. All right, thank you. Over to you, Mrs. Bailey.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spence. However, before we do that, we're gonna launch our post-test at this time. So you would have learned some things from Mr. Spence. We're gonna see if you have a difference of opinion on some of those answers that you put. So I'll just give you a few minutes to do this quiz. So we'll just give you a few seconds more before we end this poll.
Okay, I see Mr. Kingsley Morris' hand is raised. Mr. Morris, can you go ahead?
Sir Spence, thank you very much. Thank you for having us all. You made a very specific statement which piqued my interest in something. You mentioned that on the primary panel that the product name must be in a specific type.
Font size and
And
style, right?
right, font size and type. I want to raise an inequitable, a point of inequity that I have felt in the past. I have not represented this company, but I just want to draw an example. Jamaican manufacturers have to create labels to your standards. Yet still international people come in and have had this problem in the past. And I'm going to be specific so that you can get an understanding or everybody can understand. In the cake mix sector, JF Mills was making a cake mix, as you all know, a local cake mix. And the foreign companies like Betty Crocker, they were allowed to come in and have their front labels, create very appealing front labels. For instance, they would put Super Moist as a very big font, and just below it, they would put the type of cake, whether it be carrot or red velvet, and then cake mix would be very small. And all of that would be encapsulated as a main presentation. Now, can you imagine the limitations to the local manufacturer when they were not allowed to say, do it in the same way? I can tell you that's what happened in the past because of this requirement. How do you currently deal with that? Because Betty Crocker still comes out where you say the super moist and then they entice you with whatever it is. And they're allowed to do variants. At the time, Jeff Mills could not make a different font. I even said this, if we're doing a chocolate cake, we couldn't say chocolate in a different font from cake mix, and the chocolate could not be dominant. Yet still, when you put the products on the shelf, Betty Crocker would just walk off. How do you deal with that, with imported versus local requirements? And how does it become equitable to the local manufacturer?
All right, thank you, Mr. Morris. Now, products which are being imported should come through the BSJ for their label approval as well. Now, the NCRA, which is the inspector body of Jamaica, who is responsible for checking the market shelves, will be the ones, if they are seeing this product, which is non-compliant, then it should be pulled and taken for an assessment, right? And a report would be issued on what requirements are in breach, and hence they would have to make an adjustment to their labels to meet the requirements locally. Now, I cannot say if this product is still out there. However,
Cake mix?
that no
I'm
man,
certain it is.
for
Yeah.
for that particular company.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it should be in compliant. However, the NCRA body who is responsible for marketing or checking the shelves would be the ones who can really pull that product. All right, but what will happen if they do see this product is that it will be retrieved, it will be taken in for a label assessment, and the requirements would have to be made on the company's part before it can be approved. So this product may be an unapproved product.
This has been ubiquitous. I'm certain Jamaicans who even look at cake mix, they can see it has been like this from time immemorial. And the point I'm really making though is that I was dealing with the local brand at the time, and we were not allowed to compete with them. In other words, blow up our chocolate to entice, with a pretty look of the chocolate image on the front. We were not allowed to make that font different from the cake mix in terms of size in particular. I think we got some approvals to change the font. We were never allowed, we were told we had to reduce the size of it. And it gave the foreign product an unfair advantage. So I'm asking, are there any exceptions today? Because that is something that they went through years ago, and I think they've had to just suck salt and not be as enticing a label as a foreign.
I understand, however, it is one requirement across the board, whether it's imported or it's locally made. So this product should have been taken in for a label assessment. I'm not sure if this product is an approved one, the label is approved. However, I can only say that the standard is fair across whether it is imported or it is locally made. All right.
I beg to differ on that, but it can be fair. But it's just an example, and just hoping that the local manufacturers or whoever is producing here would have a fair leg to stand on.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spence, for that presentation. Now, you did your pre and your post test. We will address that in a little while. However, as Mr. Spence told you, I'll be looking at some products that have their own standards. I have to tell you, though, that the general standard for prepackaged foods apply. All of that standard apply to these products, but they would have additional requirements that I will be addressing. Now, when I was shared my screen a while ago, I get to understand that not everything was shown. So I'll just recap a little. I'll just go through these slides that you probably didn't see so that you can just see them now. So we spoke about what a label is, and we also spoke about the importance of a label, that it helps you to advertise your product and that it should be true and all the regulatory requirements should apply, as we heard a while ago from the question, and the different parts of a label. You heard Mr. Spence expounded on that just now, the principal display panel and the information panel. Now, the first product I'll be speaking about is honey. Now, honey has its own standard because it has some specific requirements that do not apply to, I can say, any other product. And one of these requirements is that whenever you're labeling your honey, the form of the honey should be on the principal display panel. Now, these are the various forms of honey that you can have. You have liquid, comb, chunk, and crystallized. Now, except for the liquid, the other forms must be labeled. So if it is liquid honey, you do not have to write that because, of course, that would be self-explanatory. You also heard from Mr. Spence that for liquids that are viscous or semi-solid, you can choose whether to use the liquid form of measurement or weight. However, for honey, it is specific. You have to use weights. You have to use grams or kilograms. That is specific for honey. Also, you need to clearly state the grade of the honey. So every honey should have on a grade. And these are the grades that you can have. You have A1 or A2 honey. You also have honeydew honey or grade B1, or industrial honey or grade B2, right? No, you cannot just get up and name the honey by yourself. You have to take it to a laboratory And based on the results of the test, then the grade is determined. And if you look in the standard, you will see the specification for each grade. So that's it. Those are the specific requirements for honey. And of course, if you're in the honey industry and you're dealing with honey, please get a standard, because you're going to need to see all of these specifications. The next thing that I'm looking at is packaged water. Now, for packaged water, we have purified water, spring water, and we have mineral water. Now, what is packaged water? It is water for human consumption, and it may contain minerals and carbon dioxide naturally occurring or intentionally added. However, it should not contain any sugars or sweeteners, no flavorings or foodstuff, none of that. So once any of that is added, it has become a beverage, no longer a water. I will also go ahead and look at some of the specifications for the different types of water that is named here. So for purified water, yes, you can call it purified water if you want, that is the popular name, or you can just simply call it water or pure drinking water, that is allowed. Now, you are going to need a statement of the total dissolved solid contents. So that you're going to have to take it to a laboratory, get the total dissolved contents and place it on the label. And when you're submitting it to the Bureau to be assessed, you send a copy of the laboratory analysis along with it so we can verify what it is that you have placed on the label. And of course, you can get your water from a public or a private water distribution system. However, when this is done, it must be placed on the principal display panel of the label. And of course, the exact verbiage is there. You should put from a public distribution system if that is the case, or from a private distribution system if that is the case. So it is important for you, again, if you're in the water business, to get a standard so you can be aware of all of these things. Now for mineral water, of course, you have to put correct name, mineral water. You also have to state the geographical location, the exact location that you get the water. And you need, of course, a statement of the total dissolved mineral salt content. And for all of these waters, if once you add fluoride or ozone, you need to make a statement. Once ozone is added, you need a statement to say ozone added. And once fluoride is added, you need to state that it is added, and you need a laboratory analysis as well. And of course, additional statements need to be added if the fluoride exceeds a particular amount. So please get the standard. There are some other requirements for mineral water, but we just extracted these so that you can be aware that even though it is packaged water, you have specific requirements for the different ones. So going to the standard, looking at it, you will be informed properly. And I hope I didn't have to say this, but it is not okay to copy somebody's label in a supermarket or on a shelf and say, yes, it's the same mineral water I'm doing, so let me copy their figures. That is not acceptable because, of course, we're going to ask you for your laboratory analysis, and you need to take a copy of the laboratory analysis to us. So please do your own analysis and submit them along with your label. Now, another product that I'll be looking at is fruit and vegetable juices and drinks. Now, once you have a beverage, let me call it that, and you have less than 10% soluble solids of the fruit or vegetable, it is called a fruit or vegetable flavored drink. So once you have less than 10% soluble solids, it is a fruit or vegetable flavored drink, all right? If you want to have a fruit drink, it would have to be liquid food derived from fruit and vegetable with no less than 10% soluble solids. So for it to be named a drink, it has to be 10% or more soluble solids. Still not a juice, it is a drink. For it to be a juice, it has to be the fermentable liquid derived from the edible parts of mature, fresh fruit or vegetable. That is it for a drink. No. When sugar is added, right, you extracted the fermentable liquid from the edible part of the mature fruit, fresh fruit or vegetable, but let us say you add some form of sweetener. And I have to tell you too that please to consult the standard, because the standard tells you what form of sweeteners you can add. However, once you add sugar, you have to put sugar added at the end of the product name. So it would be carrot juice, sugar added. And the sugar added should be in the same size and font of the juice. And again, if you're in the juice business, please get a standard, look at it, and it will inform you. There are some other there are some other requirements that you're going to need, but of course you will understand that we cannot extract everything because it would take us all day, but just to highlight some very important ones that we think you would need to know. Also, if you use more than one fruit or vegetable to make the product, you should state them. So if it's carrot and mango you use, it should be carrot mango juice. And if you have more carrot than mango, you should state the carrot first. And the carrot and the mango should be in the same font and size as well. So that's it for vegetable juice. We'll be looking again now at coffee. Now, most of the requirements for coffee you would find in the specific labeling requirements for food products. But just to highlight a few, it's seen here on the screen, and also just to highlight the storage and brewing instructions. Those have to be there. And also, while nutrition facts is not mandatory for most products here in Jamaica, it is mandatory for coffee. So once you're submitting your coffee label, yes, you're going to have to take the product to a recognized laboratory and put on the nutrition facts on your label, and again, submit a copy of the laboratory analysis so that we can see that you put on whatever you got from the laboratory. And sometimes what happens is that you did your label before you actually got the results, and some people submit it nevertheless with different figures. That is not acceptable because that will cost you again, but we send it back to you and then you have to resubmit it. So if you did your label before and you're sending your product for us to be assessed, just wait on the nutrition facts, see what the values are. If you need to change them, then you change them. But for coffee, yes, it is a requirement. And I just want to say to you that all of these standards are available here at the Bureau of Standards. You can come in and read them, see what they're about. There's no charge for that. However, if you want a copy for yourself, you can always purchase that. And of course, we're encouraging you to do that if you are in the industry. Now, there are some other requirements that There are some issues that we find whenever we're doing your assessments, right? Some common issues that we would really like to address. I'm sure you have some that you would like to probably ask after, but these that we have identified, we'll be addressing them. So I'll just ask Mr. Spence to come again and address some of those issues.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Bailey again. I will quickly go through some other requirements that are necessary, right? Now, persons tend to have other claims, other use of national symbols, other things that are usually used to sell the product or to market the product, right? Now, once these are seen on the label, then you will need some substantiation letter from a body or a certificate or test report to justify these, right? Now, use of national symbols. Most manufacturers or sellers tend to use the national flag. Now, when this is used, we ask that any symbol of which is the national symbol is used, we ask that you seek permission, which is a letter from the Office of the Prime Minister, to say that you have been granted permission to use this symbol on your product. Where nutrition facts is presented, we ask that a test report is submitted along with your label to justify what your nutrition facts is showing, right? The recommended format that we use here locally is the one used for the US market, and it is the FDA format, all right? We will see what that format looks like coming up shortly. For health claims, we ask that once you state anything that is relation to helping a situation such as diabetes or cancer, prevent some health illness, then we ask that you contact the Ministry of Health or seek a letter from the Ministry of Health to say that what you have said, the product can actually do so. The nutrition facts panel is shown here. Now the FDA has a new facts panel, a new format of the facts panel, right? So on your left, you will see what it was before, and on your right is the new format. Now, just to point out a few differences of what this format includes, and if you look closely, you'll see that the serving size is in a much larger font, right? It is more bold and pronounced. The color is same, it is much larger and bolder in the font size. You will also see the calculation of the daily values. There's a change in how these are calculated. So for like your fat, your cholesterol, your sodium, your carbs, sugars, all of that is calculated in a slightly different manner. The added sugars has been added to the nutrition facts format, and this is a separate where the food itself constitutes of the normal or the actual sugar that is naturally present versus sugars that you have added to bring up the taste or flavor of the product. Also, if you look closely at the bottom, you will see there is now the addition of vitamin D and potassium. Vitamin A and C has been removed. Now, there is a footnote stated at the bottom of this nutrition facts panel. On this image, you will see it much clearer. So the footnote below where vitamin D, calcium, iron, and potassium are, you will see that the footnote is revised slightly. So the statement is revised slightly from what it originally was. Being that the market is now shifting to food items having a nutrition facts, it is best going forward that you use the FDA format when doing the nutrition facts and ensure that it is within the new requirement. Some issues to be noted as well, and these are what we usually notice when examining your labels or whenever labels come in for approval. Now the size, the package size and letter size are usually some of the issues. The label submitted, first of all, it should be printed to the actual representation or size, meaning what you will put out there to the public is what you should submit for approval. Ensure again that the minimum letter size is at 1.5 millimeters and starting with your lowercase letters. For certification claims, these must be substantiated with the evidence of a certificate. Once you make any form of declaration that you are certified to, for example, ISO 9001 or HACCP or any certification claim, then organic or anything like that, then you will need to substantiate that with the evidence of a certificate. Health claims, again, want to make any claims that this product will prevent the risk of diabetes or cancer or anything of such, or any skin disorder, then you will need to substantiate this through the Ministry of Health. All right, so I will now go back to Mrs. Bailey, who will walk you through what some standards that we use, the general standards, and some specific standards that are used. And then we'll do a quick recap of what we have discussed. Mrs. Bailey, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Spence. Now, just doing a quick recap on what was done. We want to make sure that, this information sticks with you. We know you're coming to get the standards and all of that, but we just want to make sure some of these general information stick with you. We looked at specific labeling information. We looked at honey. We looked at the fact that honey has to have a grade and you have to state the form of the honey. And also that honey has to be, the net contents of honey has to be stated using weight. Not volume, but weight. We also looked at prepackaged water, and we looked at some other requirements that are needed for the prepackaged water. We have purified water, we have spring water, and we have mineral water. And you need the total dissolved solids or the total dissolved mineral salts content for these. And of course, whenever you use prepared water from a public or private source, it has to be stated on the principal display panel. We also learned that mineral water, you have to declare the geographical location and the name of the source. So it's not just okay to say it is in St. Catherine. You have to name the source that you get it from. We also looked at the specific requirement for fruits and vegetable juice and drinks. And we did say that juices with beverages with less than 10% soluble solids of the fruit or vegetable should be named flavored drink. So it's apple flavored drink or mango flavored drink once you have less than 10% soluble solids. We also learned that once it's 10% or more soluble solids in the fruit or vegetable drink, you can name it drink. And of course, we also learned that the fruit or vegetable juice is a fermentable liquid derived from the edible part of the mature fresh fruit or vegetable, and that once sugar is added, it should be clearly stated with the product name in the same size and font. Just want to add though that for water extracted juice, the name of the product should be water extracted, the name of the fruit or juice. I didn't say that, I'm adding that. So it should be water extracted mango juice. All right, just adding that for you to hear. Mr. Spence also went into some added requirements. We looked at coffee as well. And we learned that the nutritional information on the coffee label is mandatory. Just want to advise you though that the standard for prepackaged foods, JS-CRS5, is in an advanced state of being revised. So you will be advised, because of course it will be gazetted and you will know about it and you will get time to make whatever changes need to be made on your label. So that is in an advanced state of being revised. We also learned about some other requirements that whenever we're using the national symbols, the place to get approval is from the office of the Prime Minister. Now, really and truly, that's your due diligence that you should do, but that's something that we do to help you, to tell you to go there. So we do not regulate that part of it. The office of the Prime Minister does. So you have to get a letter from them. And we also learned that while the nutrition facts labeling is not mandatory now for Jamaica, that is, because you know if you're exporting some countries, in most of the the major countries, it's mandatory. But while it is not mandatory now in Jamaica, we recommend that if you're using it, you use the latest FDA format, because of course, that is where we're definitely moving to. Health claim, the Ministry of Health is the authority on health. Again, we are not the authority on health. So persons may come and say sometimes, but I'm not saying anything. And they may say, but this is proven. I understand they have health claim and they say, yes, everybody knows that this is what it does. But the thing is that we are not the authority on health. So there's no way we can approve your label with it without the Ministry of Health approving it. So if it is that you get your information from a website, take that website to the Ministry of Health. They can authenticate it or not. So we cannot do that. So we're just letting you know that. And you also heard that for organic products, of course, the National Certification Body of Jamaica is responsible for that. They are the authority on organic labeling. So if you want your products to be certified organic, you can speak with the National Certification Body of Jamaica. So those are some things that we looked at. We also looked at the common issues that we have with package size and label size. Now, earlier on, Mr. Spence gave you some exact figures as to what the size, as to the minimum letter size of the net content in proportion to the size of the label. Now, if you know, in proportion to the size of the principal display panel. Now, if you get your standard, you will see an extended presentation of that. And this is for items, for non-food items. For food items, the minimum letter size for net content is 1.55. But for non-food items, the net content is actually in proportion to the size of the principal display panel. So just to clarify that. So those are some common issues that we had. And that is just a recap of what we did. Now, of course, I'm sure you'd like to know the results of your poll of the pre and the post test. Now, for question 1, date marks are required on goods and labels. Well, most persons got that one. It was a 99% yes and a 1% no. And I'm not sure if this is a different person who was not in the in the presentation, but for the post test, we had the same results. We had a 99% yes and a 1% no. By the way, 81 persons participated in the poll. So just to clarify, yes, you do need date marks on goods once they are liable to be deteriorated after they have been placed on the shelf. And for the second question, let me see, this was a 17% says yes, I can place my net content anywhere. I can place my product name and net content anywhere on the label once it is clear. 17% said no. said yes to that. And I'm sure from the presentation, you would have realized that no, the net content and the product name must be on the principal display panel. Definitely. I'm gonna look at this one. True or false? Not all required statements on the label should be in the English language. We had a 70% who said no, who said true. And of course, we know that for the local market, English language is a must. So all required statements on the label must be in the English language. And let me just say that sometimes you may have the required statements on the label in the English language, but it has to be legible and it has to be clear. And especially for packaged water and for items and for non-food items, it is clearly stated in it. I mean, it goes for all the products, but in these two standards, it is clearly stated that the foreign language must be clearly separated from the English language. So it does not just need to be there, it needs to be clearly separated. I should not be searching to find the English language. So English language is a must. True or false, I can choose whether to state my net contents using the imperial system or the metric system. Oh, this is another one. 32% said yes. And that is a true poll because that is probably about the percentage of persons we get stating their net contents in the imperial measurement, using imperial measurements only. Now, just to say that you can add the imperial unit of measurement, but the metric unit of measurement is a must. It must be in the metric. So you can always put 2 ounces, but you have to put the equivalent in milliliters, right? So while you can choose whether or not to add the imperial unit of measurements, you have to use the metric form of measurement. Now this one is interesting. So Mr. James is very trustworthy, and he told you that my products are organic. Maybe he's right, maybe he's not. And you believe him because he's trustworthy. Are you therefore free to write it on your product? Now, as you would have heard from Mr. Spence's presentation, no. A product is only deemed organic when it is certified. Your product has to be certified organic for it to be recognized as being organic. Now, the organic process is a tedious process, and there are a lot of things that needs to be followed. And of course, you have to have third-party inspections and all of that to ensure that your product is organic. And of course, it is not fair, for those persons who go through the process to have organic on their labels, and persons who do not go to the process do the same. So just bear that in mind, and whenever you're buying organic ingredients, just get a copy of the certification, and then you forward that to us. And of course, we will leave your organic on the product. And also, if you get organic products produced from overseas, they would have their certification process as well. So you get their documents and you forward it to us, and then we will know that yes, the product is actually organic or is made from organic ingredients. And persons have been doing that, so it can be done. True or false, Jamaica Information Service provides the use of the national symbols. It's not Jamaica Information Service. We have 43% who actually believe that, but no, as you would have heard, it is the Office of the Prime Minister. And the final one, which says, you can download nutrition facts from the internet and use it on your products. Of course not, because same products have different composition. So therefore, the nutrition facts would be different. So you need to take your product to a laboratory, have it tested, place the nutrition facts on it, and of course, submit it to the Bureau of Standards. And then we will assess it based on that, not on what you got from the internet. Okay, so that's it for the poll. Oh, so that was 6% who said that you could download it from the internet, and 5% in the post quiz, 5%. So I hope it's a different percentage who came in after, right? And for the one about the Office of the Prime Minister, we had 43 to 57 before that, but after that, we had 36% saying that yes. So of course, some persons would have learned some things. So that's it for your polls. And we just want to say thank you. I will go over now. I'll just share my slide and just speak to you about some of the standards. And just speak to you about some of the standards. That we use. So these are some of the standards that we mentioned, that we presented from today. Now, a lot of you would have been used to JS1 Part 1 and JS1 Part 20. Now, those have been revised in 2020, and they are now JS349 and JS 350. JS 349, Jamaican Standard Specification for Labeling of Goods, General Requirements. That was the JS1 Part 1. JS1 Part 20 is now JS 350, Jamaican Standard Specification for Labeling of Goods, Specific Requirements for Pre-Packaged Goods. And of course, we presented also from the JSCRS 5 2020 Jamaican Standard Specification for Labeling of Prepackaged Foods. And all prepackaged foods would come under this, but of course, we have individual standards for products with additional requirements. And of course, we have the water standard JSCRS 1 2020. And the JSCRS 5 is what is being currently it is in an advanced state of revision, so you can stand by for that. Other standard, JSCRS 18, that's a Jamaican standard specification for honey. And we have JS 61 2016 Jamaican standard specification for coffee. And we have the Jamaican standard specification for fruit and vegetable juices and drinks and fruit nectar. We did not go into fruit nectars because of time and because from the labels that we get, most of the labels are on fruits, fruit drinks and juices, fruit and vegetable drinks and juices. So we spent the time to go into that. But there are also specifications for fruit nectars, and that's JSCRS 27, 2010. When you see CRS in the standard, it also means that it is a CARICOM standard. So these are the standards that we use today. And as I said, you can come in, have a read, or you can purchase it and have it for yourself. So that is our presentation for today. And we want to thank you very much. We will now open the floor. Yes, I see hands. We will now open the floor to take questions. Spencer and myself will answer questions for the remainder of the time. So we probably can go in order of how the hands are raised.
Can you stop screen sharing? Thank you. Thank you, Gervon. Thank you, Paulette, for a comprehensive presentation today in relation to labeling. There's far more information available about labeling. We have 25 labeling standards here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. And for those persons who are involved in retail and commercial business will recognize that labeling is key. The National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, the first point of assessment is your label. Managing or in regulating the food processors and the block makers, once they see the products in the shelves, their first point of contact is the label. So we will take the questions as they come, or if persons are indicating, let me see if there are any raised hands. Not seeing any raised hands at the moment. There. Yes. All right, I'm seeing one from, let me see if that has been moved up to the front. Just hold a second for me, please. I'm seeing Kadia Silvero.
Yes.
With a raised, right. Thank you, Kadia. Please go ahead with the question.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I need some information, well, clarity. I submitted for a nutritional analysis. I received the report. On it, there wasn't any cholesterol, sat fat, or anything in the panel. Is it okay for me to put on my label, no cholesterol, no zero trans fat, or no trans fat or so, without getting a health claim from the Ministry of Health? I think that's what she said. Would that be okay for me to do?
Mr. Spence, could you please respond for that?
Yes, Kadia. Right, so the report is showing 0%.
No, it wasn't mentioned
It
any at
wasn't
all.
mentioned. Okay. Okay. Well, no, you cannot just put that it is 0% cholesterol. If this wasn't done,
Mhm.
then it would have to be checked. If the
Oh,
Bureau of Standards doesn't offer that test, you could check elsewhere. However, you cannot just say it's 0% cholesterol.
okay.
All right.
What
Okay.
we could do for you, Kadia, this submission was here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica.
Yes.
All right, we could be in touch with you further beyond
Okay.
this meeting, just for your specific situation. If there needs to be some guidance from the chemistry department based on the submission you made and based on their services that they have available in the chemistry laboratory.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
All right, please go ahead. Is that from Mardo Lyons? You may go ahead.
Yes, so I'm from the Jamaica Observer, and I'm asking a question regarding what was said about all health claims must be substantiated by the health ministry. So I have two questions. The first one is, can a local manufacturer or even a small business land themselves, in legal issues if that avenue is not explored? That is getting the approval from the health ministry.
It would be safe to say, Romardo, that if you are going to make health claims, the item that you are purporting to have particular abilities would need to be checked by a regulator. If any manufacturer goes ahead and says this, then the person is setting up themselves for legal action or for being in breach of labeling guidelines, because this information would have to be verified, tested, whether by the Ministry of Health or some other designated body, to ensure that that claim can be made. If Ellis Lang were supposed to say this drink product reduces cancer cells, and there has not been any testing of this matter over time, then I am making a claim. I'm making a claim that persons would have to substantiate before I do that. So yes, they would run the risk of being in breach of regulations and may face serious challenges.
All right, thank you very, very much. The
You're very
second
welcome.
question is, at the Bureau of Standards, would you guys, or have you guys heard any reports regarding the same, as it relates to businesses or manufacturers who have gone ahead, and branded or advertised or even marketed products that aren't substantiated by the ministry? For example, claiming that, if you drink this, it would assist with or limit your chances of catching COVID or something like that.
I cannot confirm that there have been any such reports made to the Bureau of Standards Jamaica or to the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority. However, if inspectors of the NCRA or possibly of the Ministry of Health were to find any such product on the shelves, then they would have a responsibility, and it would be within their jurisdiction to investigate the matter and to seek out the processor manufacturer and ensure that there's some dialogue, and to bring the person to a space of having discussions with the Ministry of Health for that claim to be done.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. There's some
Hello,
questions.
question.
Yes, please. Is that Christopher? Please go ahead,
Yes,
Christopher.
please. My question related to the issue of the organic claims. And I wanted to know, is there an identifying mark for locally certified organic products? And is there any public registry of these locally certified organic products?
I can advise that the National Certification Body of Jamaica, NCBJ, is the competent authority in relation to organic claims or certification regarding organic produce and products. The NCBJ is an independent body of the BSJ, and they would be able to advise you if you make contact directly with the National Certification Body of Jamaica, NCBJ, the office there could advise you of those persons who may have sought certification and who may have certification. There is actually also, there are identifiable marks available to the different persons who may have certification in Jamaica and across the world. And certainly the NCBJ has several certification marks that they assign to their different certification programs.
And one follow-up question, what role does the Consumer Affairs or the Inspectorate play in relation to both these health claims and organic claims?
All right.
And how can the consumer really assist? Yeah.
Well, the Consumer Affairs Commission, as you know, represents the interests of all of us as consumers. And the Consumer Affairs Commission may get complaints directly, or they may come, the information may come to hand indirectly, and they will seek to inquire of the particular area. But the Consumer Affairs Agency, or commission rather, is really seeking to articulate concerns and to seek redress for the consumer. So if a consumer were to purchase a product that was branded inaccurately so as an organic produce or product, once the person makes that complaint, the Consumer Affairs Commission would seek to investigate the matter, follow through on the claim, and where there is redress available, the consumer would get that. In relation to the Ministry of Health or the National Compliance Regulatory Authority, these agencies or officers within these agencies are the regulators. Ministry of Health, a regulator, NCRA, another regulator, and the NCRA, their regulations, it would be delegated from the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, and they operate as an independent entity. If they find persons who are making inaccurate claims within the ambit of their regulations, they can take appropriate action as determined by the statutes. Does that help, Christopher?
Yes, thank you. It does a lot. Brings
You're
a lot
very
of clarity.
welcome.
Thank you.
Great. 0 degrees. Acknowledging
Yes.
0
Hi,
degrees.
good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
We are hearing you clearly. Please go ahead.
Okay, yes. I recently had a label passed for a strawberry cheesecake ice cream. However, I have several other flavors. So do I need to have those flavors passed as well? Or would the strawberry, would the assessment that I received for the strawberry cheesecake suffice?
I'm sure it would not. I'm sure that you would need to get some clarity, and Mrs. Bailey will respond to that. But that would be a different product from the, or those would be different products. Mrs. Bailey, please go ahead.
Hi, yes. So definitely you will need to take them in. However, we're advising that you take in all the flavors at once, because you actually get a discount if the labeling is the same and the flavors, and just the flavors are different. But you need to have all the flavors approved, and we do offer discounts.
Thank you. Acknowledging Shelley and Lester.
Okay,
Oh,
thank
sorry,
you.
is that good for 0 degrees?
Yes. Thank you very
Acknowledging,
much.
great. Acknowledging Shelley and Lester, and then immediately after Shelley Ann, we'll take the question from Kerry Parker. We're not hearing you so clearly. I don't know if that's my connection or that is yours, but I'm not hearing you so clearly. Would you be able to maybe drop the question in the chat, and we'll ask Mrs. Bailey and Mr. Spence to just check on that?
Are you hearing me a little better?
Hearing you much better. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everyone. All right, my question is regarding labeling. Last year we submitted our nutritional thing for labeling, and it was approved. Now that that is being revised, do I need to resubmit my labeling based on the new FDA standards?
Well, I can answer that. Well, the requirement for the new FDA standard is not yet, let me say, a part of the standard, right? So right now, as we are, nutritional information for all products is not currently mandatory. So we do approve labels without nutritional information, and we do approve labels that have the old nutrition facts panel as well. But it's just that we're saying for persons who are upgrading and changing out their labels, just so that when this becomes mandatory, this should become mandatory, you don't have to do it again. We advise you to just use the new FDA format.
Would it be fair to say,
Thank you
Mrs.
so
Bailey,
much.
as well, for her, would it be fair that if she's exporting, particularly to the US market, then she needs to ensure that she's in compliance with entry for that country?
Well, definitely. She will need to seek out not just the nutrition facts, but whatever other requirements they may have.
All right, good morning. My name is Sharika Knight. Miss Bailey, Mr. Ling, may I at this point
Oh,
just
certainly.
provide a little bit more information?
All right, perfect. Thank you.
I'm glad the point that you raised, Mr. Ling, just to make it very clear for persons that are sending their food to the US, you must comply with the nutrition labeling requirements. And I think somebody in the chat had asked when. So for manufacturers with more than 10 million US or more in annual sales, they had to make their change from last year, January 1, 2020. And manufacturers with less than 10 million US in annual sales, they have had, January 1, 2021. And for those persons with single ingredients, sugars like honey and so on, they have until July 1, 2021. So there are some dates that persons need to be mindful of when it comes to the updated labeling requirements for the US market. So I just wanted to very quickly say that. And somebody had talked about the sizes of the bars and so on the labels. Just to say that the regulations for labeling for the US market, they speak about the size of the fonts as well, and what can be bolded and the size of it, etc. And they speak about the bars and the hairlines that should be used to separate certain sections. And they actually have diagrams that they have in their regulations that persons can refer to which gives illustration of the mandatory provisions that are related to the label. So persons are asked to make sure they check that information when they are putting their labels together. Thank you so much for allowing that insert.
Oh, thank you, certainly. Sharika Sachel Knight is the coordinator of the Food Safety Modernization Secretariat here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, and she can provide support to persons who are exporting, particularly to the US, food items, food produce, food products to the US market. And she may be able to assist you as well with some of the other spaces where there would have been regulation changes over the last several years. So we do invite persons to recognize that the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, while we provide testing services, we also provide a range of information through our Technical Information Center and through our various laboratories and personnel here. We are more than willing to assist the queries and the concerns directed to us. We are open between 8:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon, Monday to Friday, regular working hours, public holidays excluded. And persons can also submit information or submit queries through our website or through our several social media channels. I think we had a question from Kerry Parker, and I want for Kerry to go ahead. Thank you,
Yes,
Shelley, for
hello.
that question.
Yes, hello. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kerry, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning. I'm in the water business, and I'm looking at the recent. We just recently got a label approved. The total dissolved solids and also the source of the water, right, is the requirement as it is here now that we had to put on our label. And I'm saying that we are disadvantaged. New water brands like myself would be disadvantaged from established water brands that are not required to have the same sort of detail on their labels. And I'm wondering, I know that the NCRA would be the ones to regulate and so on, but in terms of, this is one example, but issues like this where labels are required to be updated and so on. And so the new players into the market, new brands, new products would have to be putting on these updated requirements, whilst the others that are established and there are not necessarily required to make the change as immediate as the ones that are just going on. So we'd be disadvantaged, and I'm saying I don't know how you view this, but I just want to point this out as a
If I might respond, and I'm not sure, I want to be very clear before I give a full response. But the persons who operate and who will be retailing their items here in Jamaica will be assessed based on the current standards. And so
no, I'm really talking about the brands that are on shelves already today as we speak, in comparison to brands that are new and getting approved now and to go on to the same market.
But the brands would all have to meet the requirements. Now, the FDA, are you talking about the nutritional?
No, I'm specifically talking about the water. I'm specifically talking using water as an example because I know about this and I have a specific situation as it relates to the requirement for total dissolved solids on the label, as well as on the front panel, the source of water, say from public distribution system or from private distribution system. That is not the case on the shelves today as we speak for the brands that are out there. But for us, we have to have it on ours because we went through and this was what was the system, what was the requirement, right? And we did this and our label is approved. Now getting our label approved and putting our label on the same shelves with the other labels that are not saying the same things, not saying from public distribution system or having their total dissolved solids on there, would be at an advantage, or maybe we could be at an advantage depending on the view of the consumer. But this is just one example, right? So it's another type of product, another type of upgrade or so on that is required. But what I'm saying is it's not the same as what for ones that are already on the shelf. For the ones that are coming in now, we are given this thing and we have to, go by these requirements and we put these on. But we are going in the same space as the ones that are there before that did not have this requirement.
And I'm sure that the regulators, would seek to ensure that those persons who have already been in the market will have a period to come into compliance with the new regulations as stipulated.
Well, I accept that. I mean, the reality is the reality, and we're facing the reality out there, right? I mean,
what I can say to you, though, Kerry, is that you're having more information, I'm sure, will certainly assist you as persons become more aware of the various things and, as persons become more consistent. So I believe you may be having there a greater marketing push than some other persons who will now have to come up to speed and to do revised labels in time and to meet the requirements.
Whenever this is required of them by the regulator. But until then, but another point, somebody raised an issue about the health claims. I would want to sort of clarify that with regards to the health claims for the brew of stands and what we're dealing with here now, we're talking about the labels themselves, the health claims being made on the labels, not necessarily on the advertising or so on, but on the labels themselves here now.
Well, our presentation today is speaking to labeling requirements as mandated through the standard. So yes, we would be speaking to labeling requirements, whatever other claims persons may seek to make in their marketing, their branding, they and the relevant ministry, government agency would have to take that on. But in terms of the regulatory responsibility and how the NCRA would assess these products based on the labels, that is what we are seeking to present to our audience today, in the hope that nobody will be out of compliance.
Right. Certainly. I just
Thank you
want.
very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
All right. Shelley, do you have another question, or was that your raised hand from before? All right. I don't know if there are some questions in the chat, Gervon, Paulette, that you may want to quickly address. There are comments there. I don't know if there are questions. But if not, we would want to acknowledge all of you who have come this morning. At this point, we will share one last poll with you. This is just where we now capture those of you who are present. At this point, we would have gone up to about 140 odd 150. But at this point, we're going to just share this information where we just seek to capture the demographics of those of you who have come. And we really are very grateful for your participation. We do understand that as we get out into the marketplace, things change, but we also have an audience, or our consuming audience. They are maturing, they are learning, things are evolving over time. And those of us who are in the business of manufacturing, in the business of advertising, who are seeking to do these labels, we have to be a part of the process of change and helping our people to benefit from the information that is available there. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, as I have said before, through our several departments, provides services, but outside of the services that we provide, we also are here to provide information, to provide guidance. The client servicing department of the standards division, for example, is an area that can assist persons, those persons who are new in the business, who may have a little bit of difficulty understanding particular standards, recognizing how they should operate. You can come into the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. We do also encourage persons to recognize that there are several other agencies, several of them government, but some that might be stakeholder bodies that can assist the process. We have our colleagues at the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, our colleagues at the Scientific Research Council. We have the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And just to advise you that in the coming months, we will partner with the Ministry of Health, the Scientific Research Council, Jamaica Business Development Corporation, to present a session in relation to cosmetics. We know that that is a growing industry. Several persons would have registered for this session who are involved in the cosmetic sector. So we will be doing a presentation for them as well. There are some questions. Somebody is asking for us to respond to a question. So cosmetics is one of those areas of interest. We know that water, as Kerry just spoke to water, many persons are involved in water. As Paulette and Gervon spoke to the varying kinds of waters that we have on our shelves. Lots of persons are into the business, and we need to help persons understand what they need to do. But critical, before we get to the product and we're putting our products on the shelf, we must remember that every food processor must be registered with the National Compliance and Regulatory Authority, working with the BSJ. The BSJ is the source, but the NCRA regulates, they monitor, they do this as an independent arm of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, and ensure that your processing establishment is registered. Come in, read the samples, come in and speak with our officers, come in and learn. Our responsibility here is to provide the information, to make ourselves available to help the process, so that as a nation we move forward, and as a nation we impact all of our people. Every single consumer has to eat. Every single consumer goes into the store, the supermarket, the corner shop, our products need to be labeled in such a way that all of our people, children, the elderly, can benefit from the information there. And so we thank you, all of you, for your contributions. There are several persons who are yet to complete the poll, but we just ask you so at least we can capture the several spaces that we have supported. And we do ask the other persons who have not yet done that, you still have a little bit more time for you to complete this poll. Are there any other questions? Let me see if we have any other questions. Kerry, do you still have a question, or is that from the previous engagement?
That was from the previous engagement.
All right, fine. Thank you very much. I know that there are some questions that are in the chat, and I believe that both Gervon and Paulette have been trying to assist in responding. Where can I find information to sign up for the one that you'll be having on cosmetics? All right, thank you, Sharika, for that question. The very, I can just indicate my name, Ellis James Leng. I have been facilitating this session. If you just drop me an email at elang@bsj.org.jm, or make a call to the Bureau of Standards to the front desk, and we'll reserve your name. And in fact, all the persons who registered here today who are part of the cosmetic sector, we certainly will reach out to you as well. In July, our next information hotspot session is going to be in July. On July 22, we will be looking at ISO 22000 for persons who are involved in food, in any aspect of food, whether you are a farmer, whether you're a processor, whether you are a supermarket operator, you're a distributor, you are anywhere along that food chain, from farm to fork, we say. There is going to be an interesting session speaking to ISO 22000, this food safety management system standard. And we invite you to listen out for the details on that coming up to us on July 22. We ask persons to indicate their interest. And as I said, you can always be in touch with me or info@bsj.org.jm, and we will ensure that we share the information with you. Additionally, we want to advise persons who might be interested in building that on the 29th of June, Tuesday, the 29th of June, the Jamaica Standards Network meeting will be held virtually again. We're in the space of virtual meetings, and we will be looking at matters relating to the building code. You know, we have just entered the hurricane season, and we want to share some information with you. Some more information will be coming. Follow us on our social media spaces and get information that can help you, your businesses, and all of us as Jamaicans be prepared. We thank you again for your support. We thank you for your attendance here today. If you have any queries, please drop us a line, and we will shoot out an evaluation sheet to you during the course of this afternoon. We do ask you to respond to the evaluation so that we can have a sense of how well we have done or how well we need to improve. So the information has been shared in the chat there. Thanks, God, for sharing that. The info, my email address. And one of the things I need to just say to those of you who have done business with us, you have submitted your items for testing, you have got your reports. If you have queries, the members of the department are always prepared to respond to help you understand any issues you may not have. Again, do your due diligence, check on the standard before, and then, of course, we will seek to facilitate. We will seek to make the presentation available, Colleen. And so once we're done and we have all of your email addresses for those persons who have an interest, we to maybe post it on our website so that it can be accessed there. Again, our sincere appreciation to the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association for sharing their list, the Advertising Agencies Association of Jamaica for having shared their list so that we could reach out to you. We hope that it has been beneficial, and we thank you again. Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. The BSJ provides services in the areas of standards development or standardization, metrology, training, and conformity assessment. Conformity assessment includes testing, calibration, and certification. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica is a part of the National Quality Infrastructure of Jamaica. Now, the National Quality Infrastructure of Jamaica, or the NQI, is guided by 4 pillars. And those pillars are standards development, conformity assessment, metrology, and accreditation. And of those 4 pillars, the services that the Bureau of Standards offer constitutes 3 of the 4 pillars, which are standards development, conformity assessment, and metrology. Now, at the heart of what we do here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica are standards. Now, what are standards? Now, a very simple definition of a standard is an established way of doing something. Standards communicate requirements, specifications, guidelines, or characteristics. It may apply to goods, services, and systems. Now, standards ensure quality and consistency, as well as safeguard health and safety.
Now, the standard development process is a very involved process. It is facilitated through the formation of technical committees. Now, these committees comprise of stakeholders, including industry experts, regulators, persons from academia, consumer groups, and manufacturers, just to name a few. These committees drive the standards development process and all aspects of the standards development process, from deciding the new standards or revision of outdated standards to defining the technical content of standards. And the development process includes the evaluation stage. So you have the evaluation of a proposal for the development, revision, or adoption of a standard. That then goes to the technical committees, or the technical committees then established. You then have a working draft of the standard developed by the technical committee, and then that is submitted for editing. It then goes for public consultation, and there's a prescribed period of time that is out for public consultation. You then have the approval by the Standards Council and then the portfolio minister. At the end of that process, the standard is then gazetted and published.
The services of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica adds value. And the value proposition of the Bureau of Standards is simply that the Bureau is a facilitator. It's a facilitator with an optimal combination of high-quality services and world-class facilities that address the needs of the customer and enables quality compliance and ultimately business success. The BSJ offers laboratory services as well as non-lab services. There are over 200 services that are offered. Now, these are under the categories of analytical testing, which includes chemical and microbiological tests, nutritional analysis, product testing, which includes type approval and acceptance, construction materials, appliances and metal products, furniture, paints, etc. It also includes calibration and measurement services, packaging, packaged products and material testing, as well as label assessment and verification. The non-lab services include training, and the training arm of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica is the Quality Institute. The Quality Institute offers internationally certified training courses as well as local training courses. There are several delivery options for those training courses, which include online, in-plant, or on-site, as well as virtual training. We also have certification services, and that is offered by the National Certification Body of Jamaica, or the NCBJ, and they offer management system certification and programs. We also have the Technical Information Center, or the library, and we provide research services and sale of standards. We also have our client/industry support programs, and that includes the client servicing program. And the client servicing program is really where we have officers. Here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, officers are here to assist the public, to assist customers. So say, for example, there's a need for research. You would engage the services of the library. And if it is, in fact, that there's additional help or assistance as it relates to understanding the contents of the various standards, we have our officers here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica who are here willing and able to assist in whatever way the client may require. So we have a little hand-holding, if you will, and that is one of the client or industry support programs that we offer here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. Now, the Bureau of Standards is also a World Trade Organization, or the Technical Barriers to Trade Entry Inquiry Point. So if it is, for example, you have persons wishing to enter the overseas market and they may have particular questions or challenges, then we're here at the Bureau, we are what is called the National Inquiry Point. So various aspects of what is involved in entering overseas markets, etc., that information may be had here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. The Bureau of Standards Jamaica, as a facilitator of business development and trade, we have membership in a number of stakeholder groups. We make presentations to community groups. We also have a number of memoranda of understanding that we have in place to facilitate industry. The laboratories here at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, a number of them are in fact internationally accredited laboratories. We have our mass metrology lab that is actually a Caribbean reference lab. We seek to inform, to educate, and really to create awareness as it relates to the services and value that the Bureau of Standards Jamaica offers. We invite individuals, small businesses, large businesses, to partake of the services of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. We want you to consider the Bureau of Standards Jamaica as your quality assurance partner. We welcome you. Welcome to the Bureau of Standards Jamaica.